Information is not power. If it were, the ancient world would have stayed the same forever. True power lies in structure. How did Thales and Anaximander turn chaotic data into the foundation of science? Let's find out. Welcome to SciPhiHi. For thousands of years, the Nile was the pulse of Egypt. Every year, it flooded. This wasn't just a natural event, it was an economic crisis. The floods wiped out every boundary, every fence, and every stone that marked who owned what land. To solve this, the Egyptians created a class of elite specialists, the Harpedonapti, or rope stretchers. These were the first true cartographers and surveyors. They were incredibly skilled. Using ropes and basic geometry, they could redraw property lines with surgical precision after the waters receded. They had massive amounts of data. They had scrolls filled with the exact dates of previous floods, the heights of the water, and the measurements of the fields. This was information. But it was irregular information. It was a collection of facts used for a single purpose: tax collection and land rights. To the Egyptians, the Nile flooded because the gods willed it. They didn't care why it happened in a physical sense. They only cared how to fix the mess it left behind. Their knowledge was a recipe book, useful for survival, but stagnant. It was information that could be used, but not evolved. Enter Thales of Miletus and his brilliant student, Anaximander. When they looked at the work of the Egyptian surveyors, they saw something the Egyptians didn't. They didn't just see a problem to be solved, they saw a system to be understood. Thales is often called the first philosopher, but he was also the first scientist because he made a radical assumption. The universe is predictable. When Thales observed the Nile, he didn't look for the hand of a god. He looked for a physical cause. He proposed that the Etesian winds blew against the flow of the river, causing the water to back up and flood. Now, from a modern perspective, Thales was factually wrong. But from a scientific perspective, he was monumentally right. Why? Because he moved away from divine whim to physical causality. He took the irregular data of the Egyptians and tried to fit it into a universal rule. Anaximander took this a step further. He realized that if you want knowledge to last, it cannot stay in the head of a single surveyor or be locked in a specific location. He sought to organize the world's information into a rational order. He created a worldview that wasn't based on where I am standing, but on a geometric perspective that could be shared with anyone, anywhere. This brings us to the core question of our video. What is the difference between disordered information and scientific knowledge? Disordered information is like a pile of loose bricks. Each brick, each fact, is real. You can hold it. You can use it to hit something. But you can't live in it. It has no structure. If the person who holds the bricks leaves, the house disappears. This is how information functioned before the Milesian Revolution. It was local, temporary, and disconnected. Scientific knowledge, however, is the architecture. When Thales and Anaximander began to organize their observations, they created a standardized language. By using logic and geometry to explain the Nile's floods or the movement of the stars, they created a system that was transferable. This is the secret of the Anaximander shift. If you have a system, you can pass it to the next generation. They don't have to start from zero. They can look at your map of knowledge, find a mistake, fix it, and make the map better. This is called cumulative progress. The Egyptian surveyors were masters of their craft, but their knowledge didn't grow. It only repeated. Science, because it is organized and rational, is the only form of information that must grow. We live in the most informed era in human history. Every day, quintillions of bytes of data are generated. But are we more scientific? Not necessarily. Most of the information we consume today is like the Nile floods. It's messy, it's temporary, and it's often tied to emotion rather than reason. We have the ropes to measure our current problems, but do we have the maps to understand the bigger picture? The lesson from Thales and Anaximander is that order is a choice. They chose to believe that the world made sense. They chose to organize their thoughts into theories that could be tested and improved. When you organize your knowledge, you are doing more than just learning. You are building a legacy. You are creating something that can be handed to a child, a student, or a future citizen of the world, allowing them to see further than you ever could. This is the science in SciPhiHi. This is the philosophy of why we learn. And this is the history of how we became human. The Nile still flows today. But we no longer see it as a mysterious god. We see it through the lens of hydrology, geology, and history. We see it through the system that began with 2 men in Miletus who dared to ask why. Thank you for joining us on this very first journey. At SciPhiHi, we believe that the world is a beautiful, organized puzzle waiting to be solved. If you want to help us map the truth, one video at a time, hit the subscribe button and join our global community of thinkers. Remember, information is everywhere. Knowledge is what you build with it. I'm your friend. We talk like ancient philosophers, and this is SciPhiHi. We'll see you in the next discovery.